This episode of the Coarse Grind Podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
This is Bruce Kalman from Union Restaurant in Pasadena, California, and you're listening to Shawn Rosler on the Coarse Grind Podcast. Get in there and listen good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after a long breakaway, episode number 79 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With you as always, host, creator, Shawn Rosler. How the hell is everyone doing this evening? You know, let's give a little credit where it's due. To me, for once. I stayed off the Top Chef roster for easily, 4 or 5 episodes. And to me, I'm sure that's got to be some kind of record. But, you know, like all good things, you always come back to what you love. And what an amazing guest I have this evening, and I must ask him a few questions. Tonight's guest dove headfirst into the restaurant industry by mentoring under some of the Bay Area's most acclaimed chefs and restaurateurs. Early in his career, he found it difficult to get a foot in the door in the culinary industry after foregoing the traditional path of culinary school. Instead, he spent his undergraduate years at University of California, Davis, largely sustained by cooking gigs and a driving passion for food, which he learned at a young age, cooking by his mother's side. Making his own way after earning his bachelor's degree in 2010, he opened a restaurant as a line cook in Ukiah, earning a swift education in the business, its pitfalls, and a passion for the restaurant world. It wasn't until our guest landed in San Fran under the tutelage of Chef Jason Berthold at RN74 that he really started to find his footing. Quickly rising through the ranks from line cook to sous chef in a short 6 months, he went on to rise through the ranks and sharpen his culinary acumen, landing on season 15 of the critically acclaimed, perhaps you've heard of it, Top Chef, and being in the top 3 to boot. There's lots more to tell about this rock star chef, but rather continue to go on about him. I'll let him do some of the storytelling himself, maybe get a recommendation for a good handlebar wax in the process. How many fucking mustache references can I make in an intro? Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, our guest this evening, Top Chef Colorado standout and consummate mustached professional, Chef Joe Sasto. Chef, how you doing this evening, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, Shawn? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Yeah, the mustache. I mean, can we just get right by that? Obviously, you're still rocking that. How many strangers try to touch that on a daily basis?
Oh gosh, daily basis, not as many as you think, but try to touch it. But
yeah.
I still think I have a pretty good track record going, just at least getting one solid, good looking mustache comment a day.
That's good. That's a solid effort.
I mean, it's pretty good. One a day, and I feel really good about it.
Mustache comments, just like a vitamin, one a day. Fantastic. So, listeners, for folks new to the program, for folks with shitty short-term memories like myself, especially after this past weekend, starters, mains, and afters are the way the questions go. Starters, where the chef comes from, how they kind of came to be. Mains, where they're at. And afters, a little bit about where they're going. A little bit more irreverent, a little bit more off the cuff. No one's been injured in 79 episodes, so I don't expect it to happen tonight. So, without further ado, Chef Joe, tell me about where and what you grew up eating.
Oof, growing up eating. It was a mix of food, actually. Food was one of those things, and my mom was the biggest influence with that. I think there's a lot of people who know me know how much of an impact she had on my life and cooking and how I got to where I'm at. But growing up, it was one of the biggest things was making sure that there was always food on the table, and we all sat down together as a family. And she tried her best to always cook it from scratch and make home-cooked meals. That wasn't always the case. One of my go-to favorites that I would always ask her to make, she would happily spend all day cooking, and I would ask for her to make Hamburger Helper.
Nice.
And that was at least maybe twice a week we had Hamburger Helper. I would have been probably happy having it every night. Funny enough, I always think back, that was the first thing I was allowed to cook in the kitchen, like using the fire and like the stove.
Yeah.
It was like making Hamburger Helper. And even back then, I remember not wanting to follow the recipe and like try to add different things from the spice cabinet, or like try not to like actually measure out the water that you add to. You know, looking back, it's funny because I was actually like just naturally trying to cook back then without even realizing like what I was doing or how much that would then later impact where I'd be in my life.
That's incredible. That's incredible that would. And I'm sorry. How old were you at that time? Like already with that creativity?
I have no idea. I honestly don't remember. I mean, there are pictures of me cooking with my mom in the kitchen. I'm on like one of those little types tables, like just barely able to stand, playing with flour and water, mixing it together while she's like cooking whatever for dinner.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
I know I'd always be in the kitchen with her cooking, and to put an age on it, I have no idea. I know I've been doing it since I could walk.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And so, obviously, Hamburger Helper was a go-to, and for people ready to throw the red card at this. See, it's World Cup season, so I make a soccer reference. That's how I stay relevant. There is some legit shit that comes out of boxes, and I don't want to hear it from anybody who wants to put their nose in the air and say, "Oh, well, I would never eat that." The hell you wouldn't. There was a chicken and dumplings thing that my wife made, and it was Duncan Hines, I think, and it was when we first got married, and it's gnarly. The chicken and jus that it came in was in a can in a box, so let's just put that right out there. But it was legitimate shit, and there is some solid stuff that comes off the shelf. So I've got your back, Chef Joe Sasto.
There really is. It's funny that it's easy to turn your nose up of, but as long as you look at like the brand or what's behind it, you got to imagine there's a lot of money and research dollars that went into making that like a consistent, easy, easily digestible but for a large consumer audience kind of product where there's a time and a place for everything. Let's put it like that.
That's true. Now I will say in 79 episodes, this may be the first and the longest defense of box dinners I've ever partaken in, so we should probably get moving here before we both lose our reputations. The Hamburger Helper aside, did you have chances to exploratory eat at all? Like, were you a picky eater, or were you pretty wide open to things?
As a kid, or in general?
Yeah, as a kid growing up.
As a kid growing up, there was a handful of things I didn't like as a kid. I didn't like tomatoes. I didn't like olives. I most of all hated chocolate. And as I grew up and my palate kind of changed and developed, I learned to love tomatoes. I love olives, and I still hate chocolate.
You hate chocolate? How do you hate chocolate?
I feel like there's like a handful of people in the world that share my sentiment, and probably only a handful. But it's like I could do, milk chocolate as a accompaniment with all like goodies and yum-yums and crunchy bits.
Yeah.
But straight dark chocolate or chocolate on chocolate cake or chocolate ice cream is like, I just can't even. Like, I won't even try it anymore because I just know I don't like it at this point.
No shit.
Like, I can't get that bitter taste out of my mouth. It's just, I don't know.
That's. I mean, like, now, to be fair, I'm not necessarily, pointing the finger at you for not liking chocolate, because I have the same reaction to people who don't like cilantro. Like, I know there's the whole, like, genetic predisposition against it. It tastes like soap. I give them the same ration of shit about it. So, wow, that actually might be a first for me, to have a deep-seated hatred that deep for just chocolate on chocolate.
Yeah, it's always been that way.
Wow.
The only thing I never grew out of, I guess.
Wow. So there's the side that you hate, but looking back, would you say that there's a dish or a handful of dishes or a meal that you not only love, but like almost long for, like creates a nostalgia in you? Was there like one Sunday meal, for example? Anything like that?
There's a lot of different directions, actually. Like, yeah, I mean, it depends how, something I would make that I made nostalgic growing up. I remember it's like, almost every other day or every day after high school, and me and my buddies would go to my house. We'd be looking for food, and I would make these buffalo chicken wraps. It was like tortillas with melted cheese, but like, shredded chicken from Costco, tossed in buffalo sauce, and just like dripping down with wet, buttery buffalo sauce all over.
Nice.
And that's like a nostalgic, something I made.
Yeah.
And then, there's the nostalgic, the crepes that my mom would make growing up. Is like sleep every Friday or Saturday when me and my brothers would have people over. She would make crepes, and we'd wake up to like a crepe buffet where it's like build your own, all the different toppings, sugar, lemon, honey, chocolate, fruits, and that was the regular Saturday morning.
Wow. Sounds really rough, Joe. I feel for you.
Yeah, because my mom took good care of me, my brother.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome, buddy. And I know we mentioned this, but I almost want to dig a little more deeply into it. Greatest culinary influence growing up, obviously mom. What was it that stuck? Was it the nurturing aspect? Was it the technique aspect? What was it that like struck you so hard?
I think it was the fact that like she showed me that food had power beyond just sustenance. It was able to bring people together, brought the family together. It was the thing that, we revolved around for the holidays and occasions, and even just like a weeknight. It just did so many things for the family, and it was like the most important thing, I think, in our family, like that brought us all together, was that food was always the centerpiece. And so just that kind of approach and understanding and idea of looking at food like that, it's like to me today, it's like, at the end of the day, I just want to cook for people, and I want to bring people together and use food to do that.
That's phenomenal. So obviously you have this strong background, this strong influence, this nurturing influence for that matter. But when was the moment that you realized that it wasn't just going to be something you like to do, that it was something you were going to do with your life?
When was the exact moment? I don't know. I mean, I feel, I still don't. I mean, I know I'm confident, and I know what I want to do, and that I feel very blessed and fortunate that I get to do something I love every day. So I know there's a lot of people that are not in that same position, and like they still grow. They're adults and they want to grow up, and they don't know what they want to do when they grow up. And I was able to figure that out early on. But even so, it's the kind of thing where I still feel like I have so far to go in my career to get to where I want to be, or feel that I'm actually like successful and accomplished everything I want to accomplish. That's
awesome. I mean, listen, third place on Top Chef. I don't think anyone's looking down their nose at you, but that's a really cool and powerful statement to make at this point in your career, specifically. And I'm sure, looking downstream, not even that far, there's going to be, I mean, just amazing things given what we've seen from you so far. When you're in your respective kitchens, I should say, you have to pull inspiration from somewhere. So let's take it, to present day now, successful as you are, established as you are, where do you pull inspiration from the most?
The most?
Yeah.
I would definitely say probably my girlfriend.
Nice.
She's very, thinks outside of the box and comes up with a lot of these really outrageous, crazy, elevated ideas that may not necessarily always work or be translated into like dishes that could come to life. But then the idea that she kind of plants the seed in my head of something then blossoms into the full idea.
That's phenomenal. And is she in the industry too?
She is. We're like a package deal at this point. So we've worked together for number of years now, and she's kind of the front of house counterpoint to my back of house.
Love it. Yeah, and it's just it's so amazing for all the answers that I hear to that question. The cornerstone of it, probably the most common, has always been that person, that significant other, and what you can draw from them. So that's it's amazing. That's amazing. So you draw your inspiration from this wonderful counterpart human being. What would you say over your career to date has been like your proudest creation? Like the one thing that you hang your hat on as like, wow, I nailed that shit. It could be just one, it could be more than one. You know, I would imagine there is more than one for you at this point. But like, what was your
Yeah,
proud?
that's the question, because then that's like putting one dish or one idea on a pedestal above like everything else.
Mm-hmm.
When like I think of like the dishes I make, or like when people come in and ask what's your favorite pasta on the menu right now.
Yeah,
it's like I don't have kids, but I imagine that's what it's like when you ask a parent who's their favorite child.
Well, now, hold up just a minute there, because I'm going to tell you something. I could have named my favorite kid today. So just consider that. You and I know the scheduling snafu we ran into. Believe me, I had a favorite at about 9 o'clock Eastern, but go ahead.
Right, but today, tomorrow, you might have a different favorite.
Very true. Very true.
It's like, of course, everybody has their favorite on a day, but then that may not be always your favorite.
Right. Not too true.
There have been multiple things that have come up throughout my career. I mean, there was one in particular that still I'm really proud of. Was a lasagna, a lasagnetta, this little mini lasagna that we did while I was with Quince. And we had done it, and I went like super ambitious on it, and had done 36 layers compressed. I knew we do it one night. It was for like a Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve menu. And it took so many hours of production it was like different colors of sheeted pasta with layers of blanched Swiss chard and a mushroom duxelle and meat farce made from squab, and just layers upon layers upon layers to assemble, put together, cook, press, cut out. And we ran it for that night, and it just took off. People loved it. It looked beautiful. It was awesome. And the next day, Chef Tusk comes up to me and is like, "We're going to put that on the menu. Let's plan on making that every day."
Oh.
And, it's like, okay, well, that's the first feeling. But then you get it done, you do it, and then fast forward a couple months later, the Michelin Guide comes out. They have like 2 or 3 paragraphs to write about the restaurant, and that's the dish they chose to talk about. So that was when they went from 2 to 3 Michelin stars, and that made me feel pretty good.
Damn.
Awesome.
Wow. Okay, so even though you don't have a favorite, that's a pretty significant
one. I'll always remember that dish.
Right on. That's phenomenal. So obviously your gig, your mastery lies in pasta, but looking at the industry overall, trends come, trends go, and I'm sure they do in pasta. I'm not well read at all in the art of pasta. But what would you say trend-wise? Now, obviously being in the industry, you have success with the dish, you want to keep it going, but you almost have to be ahead of it a little bit. What is the next trend coming down the river to us as the consumer, as the diner? Is there a trend coming that you see?
It may already be here. I guess it depends on what areas you're eating in. I mean, pasta, I don't want to say pasta itself is a trend, but I'm seeing more and more people fall in love with the possibilities of fresh pasta and what it can be, and what real, like, true pasta perfection is.
Yeah.
But I think on like a more macro scale, something that I've seen more and more and more of, and that I'm really interested in, is fermented and preserved foods. You look at certain cuisines that have been doing it for hundreds and thousands of years.
Yeah.
Like kimchi. But what kimchi's evolved to, and the many, many different things I've seen turned into kimchi that are not traditionally used, it's like more than just cabbage now at this point. And, people are fermenting and preserving anything from Meyer lemons to juniper berries. So, I mean, it's the kind of thing that the possibilities are endless, and I think that's the next thing that is taking off.
Awesome. And how about the trends that are still hanging around, like you just want them to go? Is there one currently today that you're just sick of?
A trend I'm sick of?
Yeah.
There's some things that that I think are becoming outdated, and I just am interested to see where it's going to go.
Okay.
Because this like super, super, super fine dining is the kind of thing that I loved and did for years and years, and I think every cook and chef aspires to kind of at least see it or try it at one point in their career. But diners and consumers Now I'm just curious to see how long they're going to be open and receptive to it, because there's so many more casual and simpler styles of dining still with the food at the level you find at those places. Like incredible level cooking, at its peak right now. But the service side of it, where people don't necessarily need waiters and white gloves, they're fine with sitting at a pop-up table outside if the food is, otherworldly. So I'm just curious to see kind of where that goes and how long it's held on to and how that evolves.
No, I totally agree, and I think I had this conversation. Oh God, I'm not sure what. Actually, it might have been my friend here in Bloomsburg, Chef Gary Vatican, whose establishment just closed up, and he was a very very fine dining place. But fine dining seems to be taking a step back, not necessarily a negative step back, but because of the accessibility of culinary knowledge. Like, you don't necessarily have to read La Rue Gastronomique cover to cover to understand. We can do a bit at a time. We can, access things more readily. And I almost think that's saying, oh no, I don't need to get behind the velvet rope to do this. I can do this, like you said, at a pop-up, at a food truck, and still get that quality. So no, that's a phenomenal point. So, we've got trends, we've got your inspiration, and this is all about you. So what's Joe Sasto doing? What's the 5-year plan? You talk about the future, you talk about, where you want to aspire to. What does that look like?
The 5-year plan, I'm 99% confident that I would like to have my own restaurant by that point, that will be successfully opened and well known in the neighborhood, in all best case, knock on wood, nationally known.
Yeah.
For the restaurant. I want to have my own place where I can do my thing, cook my food, and just cook for people that want to be there. People in the neighborhood, people in the area, people that want to come and just enjoy each other's company and come together and eat good food.
And I have never had less of a doubt of something happening than I do right now. So for whatever that's worth, man.
I still feel like I could use every bit of it from every single person.
You got it, brother. Well, the Coarse Grind Podcast stands firmly behind Chef Joe Sasto. Let it be known, let it be said, let it be believed. So that's where you're at. Now let's talk afters. Let's talk a little bit off the cuff, a little bit irreverent. If I'm standing in your kitchen, and you can pick whether it's professionally or at home, what music do I hear?
There are two answers. Usually, if it's at home, definitely reggae.
Nice.
100%. Because I'm definitely probably smoking weed at home. I'm at work, I would not be, and it'd probably be some hip-hop, like Jurassic 5 or People Under the Stairs.
Nice. We just had a fraternity charity event for a fraternity brother who passed away, and may I recommend Hip Hop Barbecue to you as a Pandora station, if you have not already discovered it. It is.
My brother just recommended that to me not too long ago.
It is perfect. I truly believe, and I've hated Pandora off and on. Hip Hop Barbecue may very well be the closest thing to perfection I've ever listened to. So
I'm gonna check that out tonight.
Perfect. Next question. You are going to be, theoretically, hypothetically, stranded on a deserted island, and you can bring 3 foods or food type items with you. An infinite supply that renews itself, but 3 and only 3. What would they be and why?
Do I have to plan on surviving on this island for a long time, or am I just like hanging out for a couple of days having a party?
Well, let me give you mine. This is always the one that helps to steer people. And my wife, you should know, is a nurse, so she gave me shit about colon cancer on this. I said beef, indeterminate supply of beef, bourbon, and beer. Now, here's the thing: I'm not going to sustain on it. I'm going to die.
What
but
about water? What about water? Do you have access to water? You got like 72 hours.
Oh, you're getting all scientific on me. You can, let's say you took the Survivor 101 crash course and you know how to get fresh water from salt water.
Like kind of like Bear Grylls and Joe Sasto together.
Exactly. You're not, maybe you're not pissing in a hole to, get the water from it, but you're good. You can work with ocean water.
Got it. Okay. Goodness, let's see. Can I do, like, froyo with rainbow sprinkles?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Yeah, okay, great. As long as the rainbow sprinkles just keep coming, too, because that's, like, paradigm.
Okay.
Let's see here. Do nachos count?
Nachos do count.
Nachos for sure. And then, just switch it up. Ooh, can I do stone fruit? And that'll give me like tons of choices I'll never get tired of.
I love it. Stone fruit.
And then I'm like kind of healthy, but I still got my froyo, sprinkles, and nachos.
There you go. You're living. You're living. Holy shit. That might be one of my favorite series of answers ever. Oh my God. That's awesome. That's awesome. Have you to date had the chance to pick up Melanie Denea's My Last Supper?
No.
So
not.
awesome coffee table book. She is a
Oh, I know. Is that the one where they ask all the chefs if they had one last meal?
There you go. You got it. She did a follow-up book to it too. She did The Next Course, and it's got Marco Pierre White with a big French round in front of his face on the cover of that one. I forget who's on the cover of the first one, but anyway, I picked this up on a whim not long time ago, and it's kind of where the inspiration for the show comes from. At least as far as the structured questions, everything else, the wheels falling off. You know, Melanie Denea takes no credit for my shit, I'm sure. But with that said, one of the questions I love to ask is straight from her. You know, your check's getting punched tomorrow. What's the last meal? Who's there? What's playing? What are you drinking?
Oh man, you know it's funny. I just read I saw some article that someone had posted with Julia Child's answer to this question.
Yes.
And with like the wine pairing, like it was so cool to read because I was like, oh, it just gets you thinking. You're like, what kind of food matters that much to you?
Yep.
Gosh, I mean, it's got to depend on the day. I mean, if it was today, well, no, it probably wouldn't depend on the day. This has got. I mean, it's the same. I was surrounded by some friends and loved ones. You know, sharing a giant mountain of nachos, like the size of the table. So it's just like everybody,
love it.
You could eat nachos. Probably beef. I would say like carne asada as the choice. Shredded cheese and nacho cheese. You know, sour cream guac, all the salsa and goodies. And then you know, rounded out the meal. You know, we probably want to do a really nice like Italian red wine with that.
Nice. Just
to like go over the top. They finish it out with, there's this place that blends frozen yogurt with rainbow sprinkles together with like a drill, kind of like McDonald's used to do with the McFlurry machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that, and they add all the toppings and blend it together.
Oh.
I would have to have one of those.
You'd have to finish it off with the froyo.
Oh man, and don't forget the rainbow sprinkles.
And the rainbow sprinkles. I'm sorry, and they're not JIMMIES. All you people in the Midwest, shut up. They're sprinkles.
God, one of my sous chefs I work with is from the Midwest. He calls them JIMMIES.
God damn it!
I never heard that before. It blew my mind. I just learned about that this past year.
Oh, it's terrible. Back in high school, I actually used to work at a soft serve place, and we made flurries there. This is before McDonald's did the McFlurry and everything. And there was actually, I'll never forget, because we had like 4 or 5 different camps. We were like right by the New York, New Jersey border, but we were in PA. And they'd come down, and this one little kid, man, he comes up, he's like, can I get some JIMMIES in it? And, like, you just heard the needle scratch across the vinyl. I'm like, the fuck you say, man? Like, what? And he's like, JIMMIES, those things. I'm like, wow, all right, fine. And, you know, then I paid attention, went to college, and I'm like, oh, wow, you people call them that, too. But no, they're sprinkles. You heard it here.
Yeah, they're sprinkles.
Goddamn rainbow sprinkles. Infinite supply for Joe Sasto on a deserted island, too. Make it happen. Last question, Chef Joe Sasto. The simplest and yet probably the most complex. What is food to you in a single word?
Everything.
Love it. Love it. Because it's so hard to put like a defining single dimension factor on it.
Oh, it's life. Life for everything. One or the other. I mean, all in the same.
For you, Joe Sasto, I'll give you 2 answers. Everything in life.
Yep,
there it is.
That's it.
There it is. Very good, sir. Well, sir, thank you so much again for taking the time to be here this evening. I appreciate the living hell out of it.
My pleasure. This is a blast. That was a quick. That conversation went really well, and it felt like we just got on the phone.
Oh, that's sweet, man. Thank you so much. And folks want to find you, and I highly recommend you do it because, again, he's going to blow up again soon, and you never know where this guy's going to go. JoeSasto.com, chef.joe.sasto on Instagram, Chef Joe Sasto on Twitter, and you can reach him at chefjoesasto@gmail.com. All of his information there, again, you can find at joesasto.com. And again, Joe, thank you so much for being here, buddy. An absolute pleasure on our part. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 79 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With me this evening, the incredible, impeccably mustachioed Chef Joe Sasto. Our producer, as always, this evening has been the Reverend Johnny Lamoria, a.k.a. Johnny Leland Robinson. Be sure to check out all his Honesdale Steampunk happenings. The next episode is going to be at 80. Who knows where that's going to go, but you'll find out soon. Stay tuned.